I'm Ted from Everything Attachments, and we're today with Chuck from Everything Attachments, my son. We're bringing out our pulverizer with all its latest features. We've done several things to it. When I was a teenager, I used to pick these up. They were called Gill Yard Tools, made in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we've made a lot of improvements on them since then. Woods Corporation actually bought the pulverizers and their whole line to start producing. Actually, I think Woods doesn't even make a pulverizer anymore. We made ours we increased everything it needed where it needed it, made a lot of improvements. We sell a lot of them. I think we took some business away from Woods. Apparently they weren't selling enough of them to keep them up, so we'll be happy to help that. So on theirs, I can remember as a kid, the 1-inch shaft that used to be in these, the bearings would freeze up, burn the shaft off, and that's an expensive piece. We use, as you can see in the center here, these are actually true rivet gun pieces that are hardened. We do weld them on by hand because they're stronger than with a rivet gun welder, so we do weld them, but they're good and hard. They last a long time. We've never actually had to replace any on anybody's. But we use a much larger shaft here and use a 4-bolt pillar block bearing. Gives it a lot of strength. We've moved it back a little bit so when it's fully down, it doesn't run into the teeth. And then if you get the second roller, which we don't sell a lot of, but if you're really getting it one yard really fine and perfect, you can add the second roller. And we've extended it a little bit so it doesn't get trash caught into it like they used to. This is a 53 pound per foot beam. So every foot of this is a pound. And it's called a wide flange beam because it's as wide on the face as it in length across here. So it's really strong. We take these teeth and bolt them to these sides, put them up there and weld them in position so they can't have any slop or movement. Now these come in grade 50 steel, which lasts a long time, or we do offer a hard ox upgrade. The hard ox will last about 3 times as long. These are the standard teeth on this one. Comes with category 1-2 pin set. It can be used with a quick attach, but a quick hitch. It can be used with that, but like I tell everybody, they're good for some people and they're not good for some people. Personally, I'm not a big fan of them. The strength within a quick hitch is not nearly as strong as what's going to be on a good implement. So you're going to rip your hitch off before you harm this implement. And I like them to be, especially on like a pulverizer and a lot of attachments, I like them to be closer to the tractor. But that's my preference. It's really braced up. We've never had one bent or damaged that I know of in 14 years. So if you see my yard here, unfortunately, we just had Hurricane Aaron go through last week, and we really didn't even think we'd get this video in from all the rain. We do have a mowing service. I normally keep my yard looking pretty good. But he is so far, I talked to him the other day to try to get this mowed before we did these videos. He's so far behind because he couldn't mow for 3 weeks that he just hasn't gotten to me yet. I'm low on his priority list. So that would normally look better. We're gonna take the tree puller. We're gonna pull out all those bushes around the trees, around the house. They've just gotten a little too mature here. We're gonna redo that. We're gonna use a Kubota Grandale 6060. This is a 60 horsepower. For its weight, it's a lot of horsepower, so, but it's a great match for everything. There's a couple other tractors that are built on this same frame that don't have the turbo, so they will still pull equally as well, they just don't spin the tires quite as fast. So this a 6-foot pulver, we do make a 5-foot pulverizer for smaller tractors. They would even work on like a B or a 35 horsepower class 2 tractor. This is a class 3 compact. This is about as large as it gets in a compact tractor with a lot of horsepower. So Normally, a pulverizer, a lot of people, okay, so believe it or not, this is actually a driveway, even though it looks more like a yard. I've lived here, I built this house when I was 19 years old, and it's still in good shape. So this is where I live now. So this road has been in here at least 30 plus years. It's had many, before I had a land leveler, it's had many loads of gravel just put on it to make it look better. So there's probably a 12 to 16 inch base under here that looks like a yard. When we're through here, it should look like a new driveway. There's absolutely zero reason that we should have to put any more rock on this road in particular. Now, one of the reasons I recommend to go a little wider than the tractor, and we're right on the edge of this tractor here. I actually like it to be a little wider, so when the driveway slopes off a little bit, you can keep your tractor on the driveway and not have, because if you go over the edge of the driveway, it's definitely going to eat away at that and angle it more than you want it to. So you want to be able to stay on the flat part of the driveway. So what we're going to do in this case, we're going to do a double test. First, we're going to go over it with the pulverizer. Mainly probably just to pull most of this grass off that shouldn't be there to start with. Then we're going to leave a section that we didn't go over with the pulverizer. We do have a land leveler up here, and that's probably going to work fine, but it's probably going to leave a lot of grass mixed within it, because if you were going to do this for a permanent solution and you weren't just out here doing a video, what should be done is you would mark out your driveway lines that you want to keep and kill it. Kill the grass off the top of it. So when you do blend it in, it still dies. So a week ago, this should have been Roundup or whatever type of grass killer you like to use, and this should be brown, so when it does blend in, nothing's gonna immediately try to come back through. But that's unfortunately not what we're gonna do today. We're gonna rip off part of this grass, then we're gonna use the land leveler, and we will use the land leveler without this being used first, just to see how good it does on something that's this grown up. We'll see how it does. But yeah, just kind of walk with me. So I'm in medium range. If I need to, I'll go to low range. And I'm just gonna put it all the way down, basically let it float, see where that goes, and see if I need to make any changes. We also may need to make some top link changes. But I like to do these videos where it's just like you received your new implement and you're going to learn with us just like we are on what adjustments we do or don't need to make. So it doesn't look like it's doing a lot, but it's doing a lot more than you think. This is not its real intended use. If there wasn't any grass there, it would definitely be helping the gravel under there. So we'll do up about halfway with this, a couple of passes. This has got to make it easier for the land leveler, and of course you could get the land leveler with the ripper teeth. So I'm going to barely make this turn. I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to do this a couple more passes. Okay, it looks to me like we should make the top link just a little bit shorter, Chuck. Shorter? Yeah, shorter. So we've shortened up the top link on it just a little bit to let the front teeth work a little harder. So we're getting down to the gravel. We're getting some of this wiregrass pulled off the top of it. I've just moved here not long ago, and so there's a lot of work around this house that could be done. So definitely when I do the land leveler, I will use it with the shanks down some. And if you didn't have all this grass on here, you'd see how much better it would do on a good driveway. And maybe we'll make a pass on it after we get it like that. of you let your driveways drive up there. If this were driven on every day, of course it would not look nearly as got as much grass on it. You might get grass encroaching from the edges. And because it's not driven on, that's why there's no real crown per se in the road. It's just flat. Leave these humps of grass up here. And over here on this edge is what I was talking about. There is gravel under here, but I don't want to go over the edge of it and pull it. The land leveler, this is a 6-foot pulverizer. The land leveler we have is a 7, so it will let me stay on the road and do this. So we're going to hook up to the land leveler. We're going to go over this that was done with the pulverizer, mainly just to get the grass off of it, which shouldn't be there. And then we'll see where it does. As you can see, that the rest of this, come around here, Chuck. The rest of this is also just as thick in gravel as 12 or 16 inches. And we're going to see how the land leveler will go through the dirt and across this, turn it back into a driveway without having to use a pulverizer. Hi, I'm Ted from Everything Attachments, and we're today with our Wicked Land Leveler. Has the Wicked Ripper Shanks in it. This one is the one we also used over at Chuck's house on Father's Day this year, so it has been used. And actually you can tell a lot about what it did, and we'll show you on the inside of how it was working just because it has been used. What we do at EA, and there's a lot of ways of making this side brace. This is a full 1/4 inch of grade 50 steel, and it's cut. It kind of looks like a spider when it comes out of the laser, and we bend all these sides in and weld them to make them as strong as they can be. We also put a skid on the bottom, which is coined where the carriage bolt pulls all the way up into there, the plow bolt, and it leaves a smooth surface so it doesn't start wearing on the heads. It gives you a lot of wear area. For those of you that do have those 1,000 feet plus driveways, you will go through a couple of those. If I could make it out of hard ox, I would, but that bends just a little bit more than I can make without it breaking. So that is a grade 50 steel. That's better than most every other manufacturer is going to be using. Everyone else is pretty much using A36. So everything on this is A50, grade 50 steel. The Wicked Ripper Shanks are hard ox. We have the patent on the handle here. We also put a bolt through here just in case you were to let that go down, it wouldn't shear your fingers off. So that's what that's there for. So far, to my knowledge, we've never had anybody ever remove that bolt and have the need to turn them upside down, because we have a hook that lets them pull all the way up to there and lock in, and that's up far enough to be out of the way for about everything. So they work by using these teeth on the front. The tubes have holes in them, and they're real easy to adjust, and we'll try to get them level on the first time. And you just slide this key right in here, and it makes it really easy to adjust, versus putting the pin through here and having to deal with those daggum R-rings that usually end up with bloody fingers. So I'm not a fan of those. I love how easy these adjust. It's just way too easy. You just find the hole in the tube and slide the key in from behind. Works great. So the ripper shanks are down just a little bit on this. Come around here, Chuck. Most people's driveways, and this is not a driveway, it used to be used as a driveway kinda when I used to keep my racing stuff up here. So it's not a road that's driven on. We did just go over it with a pulverizer to pull some of the grass off of it. We pulled the grass off just part of it because we want to see what it does without the grass as much, and there's a small pile of it up there. And then we want to go to where it's fully grown over. It looks like a yard. But this has been here over 30 years. This is a house I built where I'm living when I was 19 years old. So there's probably about a 12 or 16 inch base under there. I hauled a lot of loads of gravel in here before I'd ever seen a land leveler or built one. So we just covered it up, the mess, instead of redoing it. So there should be a great base under this. It's having that much grass on it is ridiculous. And look at the yard. I apologize. Hurricane Aaron, which was here last week, and we didn't know, it's been raining here for basically 3 solid weeks. I do have someone that keeps my grass mowed regularly, but he's behind now trying to catch up from all this, and I apologize for my house looking so bad. It doesn't normally look like that. These are 4x4 tubes, 1/4 inch, structural grade 50. We use Vault cutting edges. We're one of the few companies that use an American-made cutting edge, and Vault's the /1 in cutting edges. People wonder why they wear out so fast. If you get a good one, they don't. Ours are all 1/2 inch thick or more. We do have 5/8 on some products. These are 1/2 inch. You can actually upgrade to the Viper edge on these that is 5/8 of an inch thick if you want to. I don't think you need to. They wear really slow because they're made right. Come around to the back, Chuck. So most people's land levelers are going to be made with a piece of angle iron. This is a lot of things, but it's not a piece of angle iron. This is a formed piece of grade 50, and if you saw it in the flats, you wouldn't even know what it was. There's a lot more meat back here hanging than there is in the front, and that's so it does have the holes in it where you can bolt a cutting edge to it if you want to for a whole lot of reverse. But this hangs down really low, and it's 3/8 of an inch thick, and I use it just like a cutting edge anyway when I want to knock a ridge out of the road that's built up between 2 rows. Now, a lot of people talk about a crown in a road. This, of course, is not a driveway. It's fairly flat. There is no crown in it, and depending on how your ground lies, like for instance this one, it's kind of high on the left, and the only place it's really got to drain is over to the right. So I'm not going to want a crown because all that's going to do is dam it up on the left. If anything, I would adjust the side link a little bit and put a slight grade to the right just to keep it flowing in the same direction. A lot of people want to put a crown back, and the only good reason for that is if you need to drain to both sides. Because when you make that totally flat and it's a driveway and you're regularly driving over it, it's going to make a crown regularly in it pretty quickly. And that's what most people use a land leveler for, is to take out the crown and to make their driveway look freshened up again. So this is going from probably as worse a condition as you could have to have all this grass and crabgrass and weeds on it to make this look like what should look like a new road when we're through. So we'll give this a couple passes. This is a L6060 Kubota. It's got plenty of horsepower. It's a fairly lightweight tractor for 60 horsepower. The one thing on the pulverizer we just used, it's a really hard pulling tool. So with only this much weight, we used a 72 inch. This is an 84 inch land leveler. It's not going to pull nearly as hard as a pulverizer does. And as you get to, you can see the side right there where it kind of dips off. That's about 1.5 feet of gravel where it goes off into the yard. And I want to be able to keep my tires on the flat spot, but be able to get over further, because if your tires get off on that edge, it's going to cut that whole edge off. So that's why I like a land leveler to be definitely at least 4 to 6 inches wider than your tires. Here I've probably got about 10. And the only thing we'll struggle with, if anything today, is weight versus horsepower. Fairly lightweight tractor for a 7-foot land grader. So we'll give this a try. We're starting it just like you would if you just bought this today. We have no idea how this is going to use. I've not used one of these in 8 or 10 years, although we do make improvements constantly. So it's just like you're going to get it. What adjustments we have to make, we're going to make on the fly. And the first most important one I know of is going to be the top link. Because when you first start going in, it's going to want to lift up on the back because that's where all the pressure is from the rippers in your first edge. So if anything, we'll be making that top link a little bit longer to force that back edge to work as hard as the front edge.
That shank is still...
Oh, I'm one hole off? Well, at least it's easy. What?
You had a hell of a...
Well, thank you. All right, they're dead, I live.
Okay, so something else you can kind of see, I know you mentioned, like you could kind of see how the land...
Okay, I meant to go over that. I mentioned that earlier. So this is from over at Chuck's house, and you can see, okay, so number one, we started out with our first version of Land Leveler where the sides were only about this tall, and that's about where the Land Pride and a lot of the other cheaper made ones are made. That's just the height they use, and as far as for the two edges, that works fine right up to a point. Now, another thing I didn't point out on our Land Leveler, most everyone's Land Leveler is on a 10-degree angle. These are on a 15 plus a little bit degree angle. And what that does is, it's the difference. If this were a stake and this was a knife, if you just tried pushing it down, it's not going to cut that well. But when you put it on an angle, it's the same as taking a knife and being able to cut into it. So the more angle it has up to a point, the better it's going to cut. You don't want it to bring everything to one side. So we found that, will this bring a little bit to one side? A little bit. That's why I always use the first cutting side on the outer edges. Just like I'll go up this side, I'll come back down that side to equalize everything. But those extra degrees help, this extra height. You can see where the gravel was coming all the way up. Now, Chuck's driveway was a little rougher than most too, just saying. And we did have some gravel almost all the way to the top. So you can see where the rippers were bringing it up. You can see kind of how it swirled around the first cutting edge. And you can see what it did to dump it behind there. So you'll see as it works, that's pretty much what it's going to do. And anytime you see the gravel above this line right here, if you've got a cheaper, small-sided one, it's simply going to be spilling over the side and making another mess you've got to clean up. Steel's expensive, but to make the right one, we bring it on up. These sides, takes 2 men to put them in the press brake to bend them, but it's just what it needs to be right. Our gussets are angled and stuff like that for a reason, because the work is happening down here, not up here. So just putting a straight piece on it doesn't help. There's things all over and everything, attachment that is done for a reason. Everything on here has purpose, whether you see it or not. Some things I don't even talk about because as soon as I do it, the competitor will try to do it. So we stay ahead. So at everything attachments, you can see we on our main hitch arms where they are. We use that in our tubing laser, and we go all the way through the tube and come out the back where they're welded from the front and the back. And it also perfectly positions them every time. Let's start this thing up and see what we get. Okay, so let's make the top link longer. See how it's picked up the back edge? I'm gonna back up a little bit. And I'm gonna make one pass, and my guess is because all this grass, we're gonna need to lower those shanks down 1 notch. Because the shanks are just barely touching the end. I'm already gonna do it. I can already tell we're gonna need to rip the shanks down. Yeah, I'm gonna lower. And I don't want to get my feet under this for some safety. I don't really want to get between the tractor. But this sure does beat pulling all those pins out with the R-clips. I see rock up there from your driveway. Go ahead. A lot of people on a box blade want the flip up teeth, and I get it, but it takes extra hydraulics. They're really not as good as these. As easy as these are to adjust, it's no big deal. And I could go down further, but I don't think I want to. This grass is definitely not going to help the gravel rolling over those cutting edges like it should. And this is going to take a pass or two to loosen this up. In fact, I can already tell. Let's go down with the top link just a little bit more. It's floating around, those arms are floating. And I like it to float a little bit. I want you to make the top link longer. And up here where we didn't go over it with the pulverizer, we may just go ahead and lower the shanks another notch. In fact, I can say we're going to. Let's see. If I barely raise it, maybe I can kind of get between it. So on these types of shanks, instead of having to go 1.5 inches, you can go 3/4 of an inch. So I'm making small changes at a time. Have you done that one?
No. So we still got 1 more inch left.
Oh yeah. Well, I might have to go to low range. It's definitely pulling harder. It's going to just because the great turf is a lot tougher to get through than most people think. It's going to take a couple of passes. Back up and get rid of these bushes out there. So now actually I'm going to show you how the back of this works so good. I'm going to get rid of this trash over here. Get down to the rock now. No telling what'll come up. It's It's been a long time. I haven't lived here but a few months, and this house was built 40 years, 50 years ago, 40 years ago. Grab that piece of metal or whatever that is out of there. This tree to my right is kind of special to me. It's a catalpa tree. It has these green caterpillar worms on it. It's my father's favorite fishing bait. My father fished 5 days a week in his retirement. And so it's a worm that you actually pinch the head off of and take a wooden matchstick and turn it inside out, and the fish love them. So I'm going to get next to this edge here where it slopes off. I'm going to keep my tires on the flat, and then I'm going to let it hang over just a little bit. That's why I like the land leveler to be wider than the tractor. It's going to take these rippers a couple of passes so you can work with the actual edges are down there doing the work. So definitely where the pulverizer, where we went over it with the pulverizer, it might have made it quicker to get to there, but it's nothing you can't do without it as long as you've got those rippers. I'm going to see if I can switch up to medium. a lot of turf on here. This hadn't been working in at least 10 years, probably 15. Harder now. I can tell back there when we went over with the pulverizer where they got some of the side off of it. It's starting to pull and the edges are starting to burn. Make the top link longer, about half inch longer. It's a constant battle of the more pull it gets, the more the top link needs to be lifted. This tractor does have 4 outlets on the back of it. A hydraulic top link is definitely not a bad way to go, but I don't use that in any of our videos because most customers don't spend that extra money, just like I probably would in most cases. So we want to show it in a real life use where you've got to get off and actually do the adjustments. Finally see gravel now. The slower would be better as far as on your final edges. I will slow down before we make our final pass. Flex links. That pin came out, I guess.
I thought I heard something that sounded weird. I wonder if that's been it.
Well, not until it did it.
Yeah.
When it did it, it did it. I doubt we find it. Sure started working good with the teeth digging in. Look, it got down to the gray gravel. So we got a cheap Chinese top link, and it completely ripped that loose when this pin here came out of the flex link. So we got a little repairing to do. We'll come back and finish this as a part 2. This video's gotten pretty long anyway. You can see what is under here. It's deep. And this would be our natural grayish color. And when all this gets rained on really hard, when we get through, it's gonna look brand new. So we will do a part 2. Sorry for the breakdown.